Hello everyone, welcome to my Substack, the Onesciousness Journal. It may be useful to ascertain at least and learn about what is Onesciousness, what is the Onesciousness Journal, and what's our purpose, what is our plan here. As it turns out, this might be a redoing or a next step of attempting to do something I started some years ago. In the late 1990s, I had the impulse and desire to publish a magazine actually called Continuum. And the magazine itself would have articles in it that would really open our minds and open the subjects of this expanded universe, expanded states of reality that we today, now 25 or more years later, we still generally don't acknowledge. I mean, there are books about these subjects that go back hundreds and thousands of years. But what are we living today is the question. And essentially, those subjects about different planes, about the continuum of life itself, life as something that does not have an antithesis. There is no opposite of life. There is only life. Yet we have given and created what appears to be a condition where life doesn't exist, and we refer to it as death. And then we have an entire, I'll use the word, plethora of ideas and concepts that are around it, but they feed off the original thought that death equates to the end of life, the non-presence of life. And from my training, my study, and my analysis and observations, such a state does not exist in all of creation. There is no such thing as a state of death. There is activity and inactivity. There are different levels and degrees of expression of what we would call consciousness. But death? No. Anything that is moving has some level of consciousness associated with it. Different degrees, okay? And then it gets into what are we, as we call ourselves human beings. But more fundamentally, what are we really? We're really spiritual beings that are expressing through, for a period of time, what's called a physical form. And when we're expressing, or when we're not expressing through a physical form, we're still spiritual beings. We don't need the form in order to be spiritual. You do need spirituality to have a form, though. You can't have that without the core impulse, the core presence. And so, here I go. I've gotten off into a little dissertation. We're going to talk about it. That might have been considered a sermon right there, and if so, so be it. But the goal here is to live up to what we actually are versus down to what many people think themselves to be, or it has been suggested that we are, and because of the suggester, our greater reliance or belief in what they have to say versus what we feel inside, or the weight that we give that opinion versus what we know or at least think about ourselves. This is the result of what happens when you do it on an individual and a collective basis. Now, the cool thing here is that no one else has to change in order for me to affect a fundamental and beneficial, especially if that's my goal and my intent. Change in my sense of myself and my relationship with everything else and everyone else. And what we're going to have here, I'm going to talk about it, I'm going to write about these things, I'm going to share some videos, I'm going to share some audios associated with that, but also I'm going to share that information about life. I'm going to share about the things that I love, because in many, many ways, the life, the situation that we have today, and that includes the things that we believe in and the people that we follow, are the direct effects, oftentimes, either of misinformation that we've taken as gospel. And when I say misinformation, it doesn't have to be intentional, but it can be generational. It can be simply unresolved because the people through which we received that information didn't change it. We took it on because it tends to be passed from generation to generation and not necessarily family to family. You may get it from your teachers. You may get it from your siblings. You may get it from classmates somewhere in the course of your lifetimes. But if we take certain ideas to heart, even if they're erroneous, then they will function until we come back into recognition of them and realize the error and erase them, set them aside, blow them away. In other words, not act on them anymore, not give them any more of our energy. That's how we change things for the better. Actually, because that's how things got the way they are. And I'll say this, they could be worse. So there's something to be grateful for at all times. There's still something for us to know within ourselves. So that's one thing. The newsletter, I anticipate we will put out a newsletter once a week. It took me a year to produce this one episode, this one edition. This is the first, volume 1, number 1. I ended up producing one more. I did a volume 2, which was twice the size of this one. And did I do it in color? I don't recall, because I have no more copies of that. However, I have probably about 10 to 12 or 13 or so copies of this. And I'm figuring, for our founders, you'll get one of these. Okay? That would be kind of cool. I'm the author of a book titled I Am My Body, We're Not Our Bodies, that I published in the year 2000. And again, there's a story around that which we won't get into this time. However, for our annual supporters and subscribers, you're going to get a copy of I Am My Body, signed by me, because I got about 800 copies of those. They're in 42 a carton, and I have probably about 20 cartons unopened that I've had and taken with me through my life travels for the past 20 some odd years. And I'm ready to give them homes to people who see the value of what they offer and the ideas. They're timeless ideas and they're timely ideas. What we are talking about is really not about recontextualizing death per se. That is part of it. But ultimately, we are liberating ourselves from fear. And so we might as well take the most universal one, because everyone is a part of the 100% club, is what I'd like to say. Everyone who is sucking air now will at some point in time drop that mortal coil and pass into or back to a more subtle place, which we are already at. That's the other thing. The body is not here and the subtle place over there. The subtle place is right here too. It's subtle because it's undetectable, normally speaking, to our instruments. But there are ways to connect with it once you take away, blow away, shoo away certain fears. So that's part of what we're going to do. But we're going to talk about other things and show you other things. I'm a water advocate. I have water transformation technology. I'll say water harmonization. But ultimately, we're going to learn about those things, different things I've picked up over the time I've been here. And hopefully, our goal, our intent, is to make our lives better, each one of us in our own way. And every time we do this, as each one of us does this, we actually affect and change the entire shebang. Okay? So with that in mind, I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your contributions, when and where they come from. And quite frankly, your attention, your energy is the most valuable and the most powerful contribution. We are going to talk about value in the material sense and how to become attractors of it if that has not been a habit before. We're going to also talk about something called Onesciousness. Oh my God, I've talked this long and I'm just now getting around to it. We're going to show you, in the back right there is a map of Onesciousness that you can say, introduced. The word, I introduced that to the point of obtaining a copyright for it. I want people to use the word. I want people to know what the word means as the originator or the receiver of it. It means an unshakable knowing of the oneness of all, the interconnectedness of everyone to everything. And I'm talking about from the standpoint of life. We are connected to everything, everyone. All is interconnected. And interestingly, we exist as a collective, but we also exist as singular aspects of it, and therefore we are part of a singularity. And we are a singularity ourselves. We are wholes, W-H-O-L-E-S, unto ourselves that are also interconnectedness that creates a larger and is part of a larger whole. You could say that that larger whole is what we are aspects of, but we have the powers and we have the properties of that whole, and that property fundamentally is one of creation. We are creators. We are accustomed, I was about to say trained, we are accustomed to being and acting as reactors, and that's part of the rub. More creating consciously, because as a reactor, you can deny your creation if you don't like it. You have the ability to say, well, I didn't do that. He did it. She did it. He caused it. And again, that's giving your power away to someone else who, quite frankly, is going to abuse it. And because they're abusing their own. Okay? So there's a whole bunch of reasons for doing this, and I hope I've covered them adequately for you. And again, thank you for your attention. Thank you for your subscribing and also going on this journey together. The newsletter will go out again once a week, but I'll be putting things out more frequently than that. I will consider and think in terms of what may go out to our paying subscribers, because frankly, everything I put out is for everyone. And I prefer not to have those types of walls. Our deal basically is breaking down walls instead of setting up new ones, setting up new blinders, or forgetting the ones that we already have, those blinders, while we come up with some new answer that's outside of ourselves. So with all that said, it's like when I get going, it's hard to stop. And if it's something beneficial, that's a good thing. If it's not, it's another story. In the meantime, I will sign off. Thank you once again, and welcome aboard. Till next time, peace, be well, be prosperous, and I love you all.